Welcome to Monday morning science. We're doing atmosphere, and I'm going to give you a little rundown on how all of our weeks are going to go. So you're going to click on these videos every single day. Click on the video, see what I'm talking about. This will be your opening. And then you're going to have our mini lesson. Our mini lesson, I'm going to go over some vocabulary words. And our work period is going to be you guys listening to me do a read aloud. And I'm also going to put the book pages, pictures of the book pages, up on our digital learning page so you can go back and look at everything. And then for your closing, after your work period, you're going to click discussions and you're going to answer a question for me in the discussions page. So let's get started on our mini lesson. Our mini lesson is going to be of section 1 of chapter 15 in our books. And our whole thing is about atmosphere, okay, this week. So let's get started with that. Let's start with the vocabulary words. So air pressure is our first one. Air pressure is the measure of the force with which air molecules push on a surface. So think of a tire. Think of the air molecules that are going through a tire, and think of if you were to pull the plug on a tire, you hear that like sound. That's those air molecules pushing out of the tire, okay? So that's what air pressure is. Atmosphere. This is a big one because this is what we're learning about for the whole chapter, atmosphere. It's a mixture of gases that surround a planet or moon. So we're talking about the Earth. The Earth is here, and we've got this almost like this blanket of gases that surround and kind of protect the Earth, okay? And then we've got different steps of the atmosphere, okay? Different phases, different layers, almost like peeling back an onion, different layers of the atmosphere. So one is the mesosphere. The mesosphere is the layer of the atmosphere between the stratosphere and the thermosphere, in which temperature decreases as altitude increases. Then you've got the stratosphere. The stratosphere is the layer of the atmosphere that is above the troposphere and in which temperature increases as altitude increases. Then the next one we have is thermosphere. It's the uppermost, so the top layer of the atmosphere in which temperature increases as altitude increases. And then lastly, our last vocabulary word is troposphere. The lowest, meaning the bottom layer of the atmosphere in which temperature decreases at a constant rate as altitude increases. So let's do a little reading. You guys, if you're following along, if you're looking on your digital learning page at the same time, we're starting with what is Earth's atmosphere made of? That, just a hint, that's your quiz question for today. So an atmosphere is a layer of gases that surrounds a planet or moon. On Earth, the atmosphere is often called just the air. When you take a breath of air, you are breathing in atmosphere. The air you breathe is made of many different things. Almost 80% of it is nitrogen gas. So when I ask you, what is Earth's atmosphere made of? Almost 80% of it is made up of nitrogen gas. The rest is mostly oxygen, the gas we need to live. There is also water in the atmosphere. Some of it is invisible in the form of gas called water vapor. Water is found in the atmosphere as water droplets and ice crystals, like those that make up clouds. The atmosphere also contains tiny particles or solid pieces. These particles are things like dust and dirt from continents, salt from oceans, and ash from volcanoes. So you see this pie chart that we have on this page right after the reading, and it shows that this huge portion of Earth's atmosphere is nitrogen, okay? Then you've got, so that's 78%. Then you've got this 21% that is oxygen, which we need to breathe, correct? And then you've got this little sliver, 1% of other. And we found that other is usually water or dust particles in the sky from volcanoes, dirt, things like that. Okay, so now we know what the atmosphere is made of, okay? Remember, it's your quiz question. What is it made of? Look at that pie chart for your answer. So now, where do the gases come from? Where are they even coming from? So we've got this chart right here. I love it. It shows us that all that oxygen that we have, that 21%, is from plants. And then you see the nitrogen, what the biggest portion of the atmosphere is made up of. And it comes from dead plants and animal decay. So dead animals, dead plants, and they give off this nitrogen. And then you've got water vapor, and it comes from plants again. And it also comes out of the earth during volcanic eruptions. And then you've got carbon dioxide, and it comes out of the earth during volcanic eruptions, when the animals breathe, and also when things are burning, like plants or animal material. So that's where the gases come from. Now, when I talked to you guys about vocabulary, we talked about air pressure and a few of those different layers of the atmosphere. But why does this air pressure change with the height? So why does the air pressure change as the height gets bigger? So it says air pressure is how much the air above you weighs. It is a measure of how hard molecules push on surface. We don't usually or normally notice air pressure because our bodies are used to it. As you move up from the ground and out towards space, there are fewer gas molecules pressing down from above. Therefore, the air pressure drops. The higher you go, the lower the air pressure gets. We've talked about this in class. I like to tell you guys to think of, like, you know how people get into a pyramid where there's like 4 people on the bottom, then like 3 people on top of them, 2 people on top of them, 1 person on top of them. Sometimes cheerleaders do this, and they'll get into this like pyramid or whatever. The person on the very bottom of this pyramid is being crushed by all these other people. That pressure is being pushed on top of them. Where the person on the very top is just like hanging out, like, oh, I'm on top of the pyramid and there's no pressure. Think about that. The closer we go to the ground, the higher the pressure is. The farther we go up into the sky, like where airplanes are, the lower the pressure is, okay? So the next section says, why does air temperature change with height? Okay, so why does the temperature increase or decrease the higher you go? So like air pressure, air temperature changes as you move higher in the atmosphere. Air pressure also gets lower as you move higher, but air temperature can get higher or lower. The air can get hotter or colder. So that means that the different layers that you go into, in certain layers of the atmosphere, it might get, the higher you go, it might get colder. In other layers of the atmosphere, the higher you go, it might get hotter. Okay? So each layer is made up of different combination of gases. That's why the temperature changes. Air temperature depends on the gases in the atmosphere. Some gases absorb the energy from the sun better than others, meaning that if you've got a lot of gases that are good at absorbing the sun, it's going to be cooler there, right? But if you have gases in that atmospheric layer that just can't absorb that sun is beating down on that layer. It's going to be a lot hotter there. When a gas absorbs energy from the sun, the air temperature goes up. So, what are the layers of the atmosphere? We talked about this in our vocabulary, right? There's a bunch of different layers. There are 4 main layers of the atmosphere: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere. You cannot actually see these different layers. The divisions between the layers are based on how each layer's temperature changes with the height. So it looks like, if you look at this chart, the bottom layer, so where we're living right now, is the troposphere. Then you've got the stratosphere, which holds the ozone layer. And then you've got the mesosphere, the thermosphere, and outer space. So the first one is the troposphere. The troposphere is a layer of the atmosphere that we live in. It is where most of the water vapor, carbon dioxide, pollution, and living things on Earth exist. Weather conditions such as wind and rain all take place in the troposphere. The troposphere is also the densest, meaning the heaviest. Remember, the troposphere is at the bottom. It's the bottom layer. Remember, if you're on the bottom of the pyramid, that means that it's a lot heavier. The pressure, the air pressure is a lot heavier at the troposphere, okay? Which means it's dense. Dense means it's heavy. It is where most of the water vapor, carbon dioxide, pollution live. We talked about that. The troposphere is also the densest layer of the atmosphere. This is because the troposphere is at the bottom with all the layers pushing down from above. Almost 90% of the gases in the atmosphere are in the troposphere. As you move higher into the troposphere, say to the top of a mountain, both air temperature and air pressure go down. So if you were to climb up a mountain, the air pressure is going to get less because look, you're at the bottom of the mountain right here, top of the mountain right here. You're going up that pyramid. So less pressure, and it's also getting chillier, colder. The next one we're going to talk about is the stratosphere. The stratosphere. As you go from the ground, the temperature decreases at an altitude of 15 kilometers. However, it starts to increase. This marks the beginning of the stratosphere. Strato means layer. The gases in the stratosphere are layered. They do not mix as they do in the troposphere. So you go from the troposphere, the next layer is the stratosphere. You've got all these gases there, but the gases aren't mixed together. They're kind of layered, one on top of the other, okay? The main reason the temperature increases in the stratosphere is because of a gas called ozone. Ozone absorbs energy from the sun, making the temperature of the atmosphere increase, meaning that it's collecting all that sun's energy, okay? So it's really hot in the stratosphere. And it's also super important. This layer is really important because if we didn't have the ozone layer protects us from ultraviolet rays. So, for instance, when you're putting on all that sunscreen, you would burn up and die if we didn't have that stratosphere making sure, and that ozone layer making sure that that sun is not coming fully through. The ozone layer absorbs that sun's energy. If it didn't absorb it, it would completely burn our skin. So the next one we're reading is called the mesosphere. Above the ozone layer at an altitude of about 50 kilometers, the temperature begins to drop again. So we started at the troposphere. The troposphere, as we went up, the pressure went down, and so did the temperature. It got cooler. When we got into the stratosphere, it's harnessing all that sun. It's collecting all that sun. And so it got hotter. Well, we kept going up, and now we reached the mesosphere. And the mesosphere, it's really, really cold, okay? The temperature keeps decreasing all the way up to 80 kilometers, and the temperature in the mesosphere can be negative 93 degrees Celsius. That's really, really cold. So after you go through the mesosphere, you're going to keep going. And now the temperature is getting a little bit warmer. You've entered the thermosphere. And it's the top layer of the atmosphere. The thermosphere gets its name from its extremely high temperatures, which can be above 1,000 degrees Celsius. I mean, that is super, super hot. Therm means heat, and the temperatures in the thermosphere are so high because it contains a lot of oxygen and nitrogen, which absorb energy from the sun. So you're at this very top layer, and at this top layer, it's so boiling hot because it's got all this oxygen and nitrogen, and it's collecting all of the sun's energy and it's just storing it there. So the next paragraph we have is called the ionosphere, another layer. The troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere are the four main levels of the atmosphere. However, scientists also sometimes study a region called the ionosphere. The ionosphere contains the uppermost part of the mesosphere and the lower part of the thermosphere. It is made of nitrogen and oxygen ions, or electrically charged particles. The ionosphere is where auroras occur. Remember, you guys, we watched a video of the aurora borealis in Alaska. Auroras are curtains and ribbons of shimmering colored lights. They form when charged particles from the sun collide with the ions in the ionosphere. The ionosphere is important to us because it can reflect radio waves. An AM radio wave can travel all the way around the Earth by bouncing off the ionosphere. So, we finished our reading. I want you guys to, if you guys need to go back and read yourselves, I will put pictures of all of these up, all of the pages up, but your question is in paragraph 1. The answer's in paragraph 1 in that chart. What is Earth's atmosphere made of? I want to know what kind of gases. I want to know all of them. Okay, so write me in the discussions page, and have a good day.